Dak, the home world of the Mon Calamari and the Quarren. A beautiful, bright blue ball located in the Outer Rim territories of the galaxy far, far away. A constant arbiter of freedom and prosperity through time. In defiance of empires, Sith, warlords, the species of Mon Cala, for the most part, were always staunchly loyal to the Republic and democracy. Even during the darkest days of the Galactic Civil War and the Sith Imperial War, Dak either aided the Galactic Alliance in secrecy, or they outwardly supported the Rebel Alliance. Hello everyone, my name is Brian, and welcome back to Barb's Basement. This week in the basement, we're going to be discussing, in my opinion, the worst thing the Sith ever did. Dak was more than just a beautiful, bright blue water world. They were also renowned for their engineering prowess, manufacturing some of the most well-known spacecraft in the galaxy, and during the Sith Imperial War had a shipyard to rival that of Kuat Drive Yard. The sentients of Mon Cala have been key players in many political, socioeconomic, and battles throughout its history in the galaxy, and I would be tried for treason if I didn't mention the most famous of all the Mon Cala. You know him, you love him, Admiral Ackbar.
It's a trap!
Wow, Admiral Ackbar! Wow, Admiral Ackbar cereal!
Colorful marshmallows!
Imitation crab meat!
Your tongues can't repel flavor of that magnitude!
With the unique culture of defying various fascistic states, they were also major players in the galaxy. This put the citizens of Mon Cala in a very tense situation once the Sith Imperial War had ended. This specific war was manufactured by the Imperial Remnant and the One Sith. The Jedi had been making an active effort to rehabilitate the Vong and to integrate them back into society at large by terraforming and healing worlds that they had once devastated. This effort was known as the Ossus Project, and was sabotaged by the One Sith, and the galaxy quickly turned on the GA and the Jedi. With the memories of the atrocities the Vong had inflicted on the galaxy, this was ultimately doomed to fail. The Sith Imperial War spelled doom for not only the GA, but for Roan Fel, the Emperor at the time. Krayt had ascended to the Emperor, and Roan had to go into hiding on Bastion, where he would lead the war effort against the One Sith and their empire. With Dak being so important to the galaxy, the Sith simply couldn't cast it aside. They had to rely heavily on the Mon Cala shipyards to manufacture their fleet, since the Fel Empire had many Star Destroyers of their own. And not only that, they would form an alliance with the GA. The two governments would become a real threat to the One Sith. For Krayt to keep order, he had to make sure that all planets within the Empire toed the line of the One Sith. There was absolutely no room for disobedience. As we mentioned before, this would prove difficult for the Mon Calamari. Upon the Sith Ascension, the Quarren were put in power to hopefully curb the loyalty to the GA. One of the deposed leaders of the former regime was Gael Gahan, a former member of the Triumvirate. He would give all of the access codes necessary for the GA to steal a Sith Star Destroyer, the Imperius. This plan was becoming more and more crucial as the Star Destroyer neared completion. Gael knew the cost of such a rebellion. He would surely be blamed for the theft of such a ship, and because of that logic, he decided it was best for him to stay on Mon Cala after the GA stole the ship and take whatever punishment the Sith gave out. After a very close battle, the Galactic Alliance Admiral Garstazi was not only able to steal the Imperius, but he also destroyed a huge section of their dry shipyard, crippling the Sith production. As the dust settled, the punishment for the Mon Cala's defiance was far worse than anyone could have possibly imagined. Krayt very rarely, if ever, left his palace on Coruscant, but he chose to travel to Dak to inflict pain on its people. This, in my opinion, is one of the most brutal acts ever committed in Legends. Darth Krayt orders the death of 10% of Dak's population. What follows is some of the most devastating panels in any Star Wars comic. As those in attendance fly into a panic, the Sith and the Stormtroopers start killing anyone who tries to flee. Krayt orders that whatever remains of both species will be placed into work camps until their species die out. He will destroy their culture, their history. They will not only suffer, but they will be forgotten. This is meant as a lesson for the other planets in the galaxy. Any who rebel will be destroyed. And for some reason, for me personally, worst of all, Gael is forced to watch the process start before he is cut down. As Krayt and his loyal second-hand man, Darth Warlock, depart from the planet, they revel in the anguish of the Mon Cala and the Quarren. This horrible act of genocide sent the galaxy into a state of absolute shock. Everyone knew what the Sith had been capable of, but no one thought they would ever go this far. Unfortunately for the Mon Cala, the GA and the Fel Empire weren't fully capable of stopping the atrocity. The GA would effectively be killing their own fleet, and the Sith Empire would go unopposed. The Sith had managed to engineer a sea leviathan in hopes of culling through their population quicker. The beast was personally bred by the Sith scientist Vol Eisen to hunt the Mon Cala and to drain them of their life force. Fortunately, with the aid of Imperial Knights who were hiding out on the planet, they were able to kill the creatures before it could ever wreak havoc on the population. Now, this wouldn't be the end of the persecution of the Mon Cala. Of course, the Sith could never maintain any sense of upper management, and the Sith do what Sith do. Warlock killed Krayt and hid his master's death from the rest of the Sith and operated as a de facto emperor. Warlock set out to shape the galaxy in his own vision, and decided that the resources of the Empire could no longer be devoted to the interment of the people of Mon Cala. This meant planet-wide destruction. Unlike the Empire of old, they would not be blowing up planets. They would be leaving Dak as a tomb world for the Mon Cala. Vol Eisen was charged with designing a bioweapon lethal enough to spread and kill the entire population of Dak. Within just 3 days, waves of Mon Cala could be seen from the skies of Dak. Men, women, children, all dead and floating in the waters of their home. Piles of bodies so large that they were first mistaken for land masses by Galactic Alliance fighters. Within a week's time, all life on Dak would be dead, leaving the once gleaming jewel of freedom and democracy, a beacon of hope and rebellion, a beautiful, lifeless ball, frozen in time, a testament to the evils of the One Sith Empire. You'd think one planet would be enough, but alas, the Sith are never satisfied. Warlock tried pulling the same trick twice. This time, the formula was designed to adapt to any species. They could unleash it on any alien race they wanted. Luckily for the galaxy at large, Kate Skywalker was able to hunt down the Butcher of Dak and slay him before he could unleash the toxins on Utapau. So what were the long-lasting effects of the genocide of Dak? The long-term consequences were expansive, sending ripples throughout the galaxy. Ultimately, the One Sith would lose their war against the Galactic Alliance, the Jedi, and the Fel Empire. In many ways, this one act of senseless mass killing was the noose that killed the Sith. Where once they had factions that were divided by various political lines, they now had a resolute coalition of governments, planets, military forces, Jedi and Imperial Knights fighting side by side. The sheer scope of the mass killing was truly astronomical. Only a small portion of Dak's population was able to be evacuated, leaving over 27 billion dead Mon Cala to float the oceans. The Sith Empire had various allied governments or were negotiating with potential allies at the time of the genocide. The Chiss Ascendancy had a representative on the Moff Council when the Sith first took over the galaxy. They swiftly severed relations with the Sith. Multiple attempts were made to try and establish a relationship with the Hapes Consortium, and those talks were killed in the crib. Even if they wanted the resources of the Empire, it would not look good in the quickly shifting opinion of the galaxy. Even though the Sith had been defeated, the persecution of the Mon Cala largely went unchanged in areas of the galaxy that were still loyal to the One Sith Empire, oftentimes being considered second-class citizens. Dak was known for its brilliant engineers, and now much of their population was forced to work unskilled jobs in the Outer Rim. After the war came to a close, many of the One Sith went into hiding across the galaxy, and tried to manipulate things from the shadows. One Sith by the name of Darth Luft would trick survivors of the Purge into coming back to Dak, under the pretenses that the planet was being cleansed of toxins that plagued their oceans. In reality, he and the pirate gang that he had taken over were forcing those foolish enough to come back into building an armada for him. So that, in a nutshell, is the gist of the genocide of Dak. Truly one of the darkest things that the Sith ever did in Star Wars. Obviously, there were other mass death events in Star Wars, many of them at the hands of various Sith factions or empires. To me personally, this was a step even beyond those. Oftentimes when the Sith killed planets, it was in the blink of an eye, a planet or two sucked of their life force, or being blown up by the Death Star, and the Sith were never above indentured servitude. This was a cold attempt at killing a culture, a planet, a people, the erasure of the Mon Cala. They weren't in prison purely for their labor. They were in prison for the sole purpose of spreading disease and dying slowly. This was simply pure hatred. For those reasons, this act always stuck with me and has always made me feel this pit in my stomach. In many ways mirroring the events of our own reality and the cruel acts that we can inflict on one another. It is for those reasons I feel this is the worst thing the Sith ever did. Hopefully you enjoyed this quick little video, and if you did, consider giving it a like and subscribing for more content. I promise the next video won't be nearly as depressing. Until next time, I will still be here, doomed for eternity, to read Star Wars comics and books in Barb's basement.